Well, too much to do and not enough time. For most of us, it's a daily struggle that we often don't win. Journalist and author Oliver Burkeman has wrestled with that question now for years, trying to come up with how and why it's so difficult to get things done without distractions so that you can enjoy your free time. In his latest book, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, he explains why we get overwhelmed, what to do about it, and whether we should even bother at all. Welcome, Oliver. We thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to start with the book's title, 4,000 Weeks. What does that mean? Why is that significant?
Well, thanks for having me on. 4,000 weeks is approximately an 80-year, an average human lifespan expressed in weeks. You get a little bit more than 4,000 if you live to be 80, but it is a sort of terrifyingly tiny and finite amount when you put it in weeks, I think.
There are hundreds of time management books, systems, apps, even fancy notebooks that are geared toward better organizing your time. You write that it isn't that these techniques don't work, rather it's that they do. You see that as a problem. Why is that?
Well, I think it's because we live in a world of what I call infinite inputs, right? There's always another email you could receive, another demand the boss could make, another ambition you might have, place you want to go visit. It's limitless. So if you get more efficient at getting through all this stuff, you're never going to get to the end of it. You're just going to feel more rushed. And there's also this really strange phenomenon where if you get really good at sort of getting through your work, what happens is you kind of attract more work. So I'm sure many people will have this experience, right? If you get on top of your emails so that you're really in control of your inbox, you just start receiving loads more emails because every reply you send generates another reply, and you get a reputation as the person who's very responsive to email, so more people email you. So it's kind of it's a vicious circle that our attempts to make the best use of our limited time by being more efficient, they don't work because we just sort of more stuff comes to fill up the decks.
So what's the answer then? Do you become less efficient?
No, I think it's a good point. I think we have to combine things like efficiency with some much clearer sense of like what matters most to us and why we're doing what we're doing. So one way of thinking about that is I think we have to sort of accept that the decks will never be clear, that you're never going to feel sort of perfectly, serenely in control of time like you could handle any incoming obligation. You have to actually get a bit better at dealing with that discomfort and nonetheless spending a few hours of the day on something that kind of matters to you, that's important to your work or to your life, whatever. Even though you know that you're not sort of, that the inboxes are filling up and that other people are wanting you to do things and things like that. It's a sort of a question of understanding what it means to be a finite human in an infinite world, I suppose, to get philosophical about it.
In just 4,000 weeks. And when you put it that way, it does seem to be incredibly small. You've said that what we think of as distractions aren't the ultimate cause of being distracted. They're just the places that we go to seek relief from the discomfort of confronting our limitations. What do you mean by that exactly?
I think, all of us who deal with digital distraction especially, and me as much as anybody else, right, you tend to think that the social media platform or the web page, whatever it is somehow kind of coming in and pulling you away from your work or focusing on a conversation with your spouse or whatever. Actually, when you really look inside in those moments, I think most people give in to distraction very willingly. Like we sort of run away into social media, Facebook, Twitter. It's not that we're sort of pulled against our will, it's that we're desperate to go and kind of numb out. And I think that's because things that matter to us, work that matters, difficult conversations with family members that are important to have, because they matter to us, they're actually uncomfortable. They feel a little bit scary. You don't know how they're going to go. You feel that the stakes are high. And it's always much more comfortable in those situations to just scroll instead. So I think once you can become a bit more aware of that, it actually gets a lot easier to withstand distraction because you can understand that, like, why you're doing it and that actually, again, being with that discomfort is not going to kill you and will actually enable you to spend more of your time on the things that you really care about and that matter to you.
And speaking of the scroll, you write a lot about social media and its distraction, not just that it takes our attention away from other things, but it has made us worse human beings and we don't even know it. Explain that.
Right. I mean, well, firstly, I think people think like if they waste an hour on a social media platform, that the wasted time is that 1 hour. But actually, it goes a lot further than that because, it skews the whole way that you see the world, the way that you assess what's threatening or dangerous in the world. It skews your sense of your political opponents. So you think that everybody on the other side of the aisle is a sort of absolutely bad person instead of just that you disagree with them. I personally, I don't know, I have the experience of reading somebody on Twitter or something saying some things I disagree with, and hours later I might be at the gym or making dinner or something, and I'm still in my mind going, like, arguing with them, even though, they've moved on, they're doing something else. So I think it's really important to see this sort of how much of an effect social media can have in this way, because you can't tell that it's happened to you all the time, because your attention, the thing that you would use to see what has changed in your mind, is the thing that is being manipulated. So we sort of need to err on the side of assuming that we are more distracted than we feel that we are, I suppose, and really put some effort, I think, into turning back towards those things that we know in our hearts we really care about the most.
All right, Oliver. Well, here is the million-dollar question. What do you think we should be doing to make our lives better?
Well, in the book, I have a whole lot of sort of specific technical tips and tricks that people can put into practice. I think the sort of umbrella idea is that it is this switch of attitude. It's a perspective shift that says, you're not going to get on top of everything, because that's an infinite pile of things, and the math doesn't work. You can't do an infinite pile of things. You're not going to get away without disappointing anybody in your life or fulfill every single ambition you can think of. And once you can let go of that kind of totally unrealistic thing, that's exactly when you have the energy and the time and the focus to do a few things and focus on a few relationships and fulfilling a few ambitions, and to actually do them instead of living in this fantasy of one day getting around to them all.
Fair enough. Oliver Burkeman, we thank you so much for joining us. 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals is now available wherever books are sold.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.